Thank you for listening to Lone Star Community Radio. This program was broadcasted and recorded live from the LSCR studios in downtown Conroe, Texas. Lone Star Community Radio is supported by listeners like you. Donate and sponsor today. For more information on getting involved with Lone Star Community Radio, contact us at lscrstudios@gmail.com or visit us online at www.irlonestar.com.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. You're listening to the Weekly Business Hour, and I'm Rick Schisler. I'm your host. I'm also a Silver Fox advisor and the founder of OneBestConsult.com. I want to welcome you to today's show. We've been on somewhat of a hiatus, which is typical in the summer to take a couple weeks, allow all those connected with the show to take some time off, and this is our first show back, so I'm excited, almost jumping for joy, if you will. Glad you decided to join us. I think we've got a wonderful show lined up for you. We're being broadcast, as usual, from the studios of Lone Star Community Radio. It's amazing. People will come up to me and they know there's a connection to Lone Star on myself, and they'll ask me, well, what exact? I say it's community radio. It's Montgomery County, Texas Community Radio, which means all aspects of the community, individuals, organizations, institutions, government, everybody can come to Lone Star and connect and get their message out and have great discussions. I ask you, just go to the website, irlonestar.com, irlonestar.com. You'll see a variety of shows that people like myself volunteer, different subject matters, and, you know, you may be motivated yourself to consider being a host for a show. You just need to contact the station. That information is on that website. So take a look and enjoy it. Quick look at Washington Week. I started this segment back in May, latter part of April, and we continue to have lots of excitement in Washington, lots of excitement, I think, is having a more direct effect on small businesses in our business, the economy. So I try to see things that are happening that might impact what you are doing in your business, particularly today, but also in the future. Well, we have good news. We have an uneasy peace in the Middle East. Who knows how long that'll last? There's been a number of them over the last 1,000+ years, but it'll be interesting because that really shifted the Middle East as far as importance and activity and concern, because typically for most of my listeners, war is not a plus unless you're manufacturing or providing services to the government that directly relate to it. It's not a place to be. So kind of that's simmering again instead of blowing up as it was a couple of weeks ago. Unfortunately, the tariff issue, it goes away and it comes back. It goes away. And now we're, as of August 1st, supposedly putting tariffs on some of our best friends. And that always kind of shakes me that you would take that kind of action. But again, I'm not qualified. I didn't run for president, don't want to be president. Decisions are made, as I've learned time and again in my life in serving in different capacities, that have a lot more information behind the curtain, so to speak. But the tariffs are still there. They're still creating uncertainty. You're not alone if you're feeling it. And as I've recommended on occasion since April, you need to stay the course and you need to keep an eye on what's going on and try your damnedest not to make important decisions based on your feelings, your emotions, because all you have to do is flip on a TV, go on the internet to Facebook or X or whatever, and you can get upset real quick. There's always somebody writing something that's upsetting. So please stay calm. I think the economy foundation is strong. It's there. It's a great base. And that if we can get some of these diversions, such as the tariffs, off the table, and get back to things that are important and would calm the situation down, business would be better. I need to let you know, if you don't already, that this show is broadcast live on Facebook, particularly YouTube. Facebook's phasing out a little bit on that kind of work. But go to YouTube, find the weekly business hour page. You can click on it and you can watch as well as listen to the program. I find that easier than just listening to straight up audio. I guess I'm spoiled, but go to YouTube, the weekly business hour page, and a reminder at any point during the show, after the show, if you've got a question, if you've got a comment, as long as it's constructive, about the show or about business. I make a living serving small business people literally all over the country and some overseas by answering their business questions. On this show, we actually have a segment from time to time called the mailbag, where I pull one of those questions out that's been sent to me by email and we hash it out. We talk about it on the air. So please consider sending your questions. I do respond to each and every person who submits a question about their business, about the business environment, etc. So please email Rick, R-I-C-K, at irlonestar.com. That's Rick at irlonestar.com. Well, as I say week in and week out, let's get the show on the road. And that's where we bring in our business guest. And today, I think we're very fortunate to have a guest that not only has a local, national, but an international presence. And I think he's going to offer some insight in doing business really throughout the world and the ups and downs that hopefully those who are attempting to do that, or even nationally, will benefit. Our guest today is Juaquin Simon Aguilar. He is the owner of 3J Safety and Environmental Consulting. And you know, Juaquin, I could take the next 2 or 3 minutes and go through all your achievements, but welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. I'm happy to be here.
Well, I've got to start off because when I see your reach, you're mainly in the environmental and safety area, but that apparently encompasses lots of things. You've served the oil industry as such, or petroleum industry, and I'm sure a lot of other industries. Give us a little bit of background. Tell us how you went from where you were to where you are today in the business world.
Well, I started out as an electrician, power gen, so I know what goes on in the wind energy sector and the solar panels and stuff and all that. I actually built from scratch the SCR systems and PLCs and MCCs for the electrical parts of the rig. And we took them overseas and installed them and, commissioned them, decommissioned them. Did it all over the world. One day there was an unfortunate accident. A friend of mine died, one of my son's godfathers. I took a test. I woke up in Cape Town, South Africa. I was off the coast of Madagascar. We were on a rig. And woke up, took a test, and got into safety and never looked back. I was power gen. So when you look at that and some of the stuff that you say about being overseas, you want to say, hey, wait a minute. What is my goals? What do I want to achieve? How do I want to feel in doing what I do? Me, I'm good at what I do because I love what I do. That's the key. Your heart has to be in it. You can't sit there, or you'll be in a job, or you're going to be working there, and you look at your watch, then you look back up, and you look back down, and it's 20 years later. You don't want to do that. You want to live in your job. You want to say, hey, I want to make a difference. Yes, I have a lot of accolades behind my name. I have so many of them. Campbell's Soup is jealous. But they also sit there, and you want to go, hey, wait a minute. What else can I do? What can I do to keep my company healthy, my employees healthy, my projects healthy? I do this all over the world. Being an SME is a very big deal because they look at you for guidance. I'm a solutions person, so I have to think on my feet constantly. But the separations of things, there is a step. And it's called detoxing. Every time I go on the field or in a job market or in an office, they're like my kids. So I have a corporate family and I have to protect them. from themselves, from each other. And that's a chore on its own, because the days of here, hold my beer, or hey, Ma, watch this, they're long gone. So you can't do that no more. You have to look at ranges when you first start out of my business. When I closed one business down to start up this one, so I'm not new to the game. But when you go in and you go around things, you don't want to skate. You don't want to skirt things. That can hurt you down the road. You want to make sure that, hey, I want to have all my ducks in a row. It's like in Texas and in other states, you have to be an actual registered LLC. If you're not, there's going to be some serious repercussions to that. So people want to sit there and go out, and I look at things of how people do things safely and business-wise. I'm a SME across the board, from manufacturing, safety, environmental, gas, hospital stuff, construction. I do, like I said, offshore, onshore. So I do this stuff everywhere. And my wife is my EVP. So she's the queen bee. She runs the hive. So you have to sit and look at things. And we have a saying in the company: for the people, by the people. That's a very, it's tribal for me, because I'm from two tribes. My dad is Aztec and my mother is Cherokee. So as far as being for environmental, I have an obligation to my fathers on both sides to keep our environmental safe, so we can have a place to call home, a place to where we can go and play, raise our kids. And that's important to me. What's very important is the task, what you do, how you do it, how safe can you be? Seriously.
You know, you bring up a couple of things I want to kind of double back. First thing you really hit home on business is enjoying what you're doing. And that doesn't necessarily mean just fun in my mind. It means that you're really into what you're doing, you love it. And it's funny as a sideline, so to speak, not really. Anybody, in fact, I had somebody the other day, they have a business idea. They want to go in business. They've never been in business. And I'll say, well, look, I'll sit down with you. I'll give you an hour, just have a cup of coffee or something, glass of tea. And I listen to what their idea is and what their plan is. And I try to gauge who they are as far as their personality and whatnot. And over half the time, I try to talk them out of doing what they're thinking about doing. A variety of reasons, but the primary reason is that their character, their personality doesn't fit the business they're going in. In other words, sometimes, for example, the one I see most often, it's a great idea, maybe. It looks good on paper, it sounds good, and I'm going to be the next Facebook, or I'm going to be the next Microsoft, but that's not who they are. That's not their experience. That's not their family relationship. I mean, what is, like, you hear the stories, about Bill Gates sleeping under the desk when they started, Microsoft. Well, there's a certain group of people who'll do that. A lot of people won't, particularly older folks. I mean, there's exceptions, but I try to gauge, will they be able to reach the point that you're talking about, where I really love what I'm doing, I'm excited, I'm pushing it, and I'm looking for people to join me, employees and whatnot, that have a similar feeling about what we're doing. So I always enjoy those conversations and enjoy seeing the success, whether it's walking away because that's what's best, or maybe modifying it and come back, or actually, putting the money on the line and going for it. Anyway, that's, I think you hit the nail on the head, and I hope people listening pick that up. I think that's important for a lot of reasons that add up, or important parts of being successful. To me, there's degrees of success. And like you went on to say it, you look at your goals. What are you trying to do? What do you want to do with your business? And you mentioned later about the environment and being aware of the impact and trying to steer things, if you will, towards taking care of it. In your case, it's historical, it's legacy, and you're motivated by it. Of all of us, to some degree, unless we're ignorant or in a hurry, don't want to tear things down that are going to impact our next generation, our children, whatever. Some people miss the bar on that, but point is this all gets into deciding what business, when, and so on and so forth. And sounds like you got your family in the business. I tried to get my wife involved, and it just didn't work out. She had the skill, bookkeeping, but I ran at a different pace than she did, which is fine. I mean, it's but no, I think it's great, and especially if you're able to meld your family into the business. You mentioned that you feel this is one of the keys to success, or your main key to success has been your ability, and correct me if I'm wrong, to really just get in the business with both feet, run with it, I call it fun. We have fun on this show, even though we talk about serious matters. We build friendships with people and relationships. Talk to us a little bit about that. I mean, try to tell me why it is so important for me, in your case, you say, to be really connected with your business.
To be connected with what you want to do is your merit and your heart. Your merit and your heart work hand in hand. Your heart is your merit, and your merit is your heart. It shows you where you stand. It shows you who you are. It shows pretty much the good apples and the bad apples in the business. And we are very, very stringent about our business, of who we let in. My wife and I have this thing about a shenanigan-free zone. She don't want no rodeo clowns, no clowns of any kind. My dad, she told my dad that he's the king of shenanigans, and he doesn't come back around anymore. But I still love my dad. My son, same way. I love him. He's 26, and he wants to follow in the business, but he wants to do everything on his time. But in order to measure up to what you want to do, is all in merit. My wife, we've been married 18 years. All right, been together 20. She came down here from Brownsburg, Indiana, followed me down. We're both from Indiana. I'm a Texan by blood. My dad's from Alice, Texas. And my ancestry bloodlines travel all the way back here on both sides, on my mom and my dad's side. But in order for you to be successful in your business, it's not, oh my God, I'm going to sit here, I'm going to make all this money. That's a bunch of hooey. Here's the reason why. You need to think about the task first. The money will come down the road. It's like being in safety, doing safety. You got people that want to sit there and try to control something that can't be controlled. Oh man, I'm making $16 an hour. Okay, later on down the road, you get your experience. You use it as a stepping stone, and you sit there and you say, hey, wait a minute, I can do better. But you gotta love what you do, because if you don't, you're never going to be successful. Never. It's kind of like looking down at your watch, and it's 20 years later. Where'd that time go? Man, I wasted my life in doing something
that I really didn't necessarily enjoy doing, or it wasn't the best use of my skills, experience, and my character, my personality. That's where I see people that they could be successful if they were over here. My father used to call this the square peg in the round hole, or vice versa. He says, my job is to put people in the round hole, round peg, square, and that was as simple as it got, right? That was a job of an employer, to find the right people to fit the slots. Similar, amp it up a little bit, to finding the business. Let me ask you this. You have awards, 2 that were awarded nationally and 4 internationally. How important are these awards to your business going forward?
Any award with an individual in a business, or to the business itself, gives it street cred. All right, gives it a lot of cred. And you want to sit there, you want to get the cred, but you got to be careful with doing that, because if you get so much cred, and then all of a sudden you got a target on your back, because now everybody's looking to, watch you mess up or something. Because right now our society, some of it has become bloodthirsty on so many different levels. So they're sitting there, they want to see you fail so they can sit there and laugh at you. I mean, And I don't condone stuff like that, because every business that you start, good intentions or bad, has a function, but you need the tools to succeed. These show that I have the tools to succeed, and I maintain those tools. I nurture them. That's one of the main things about a good safety culture in your company, or a good culture, period. You have to nurture it, because it's a living thing, believe it or not. It actually is. And you can wreck yourself, or wreck your business, or wreck someone else's business by being negligent that way. And one of the biggest things, what's the most powerful words in court? And you know this: negligence, accountability, and responsibility. Those are the biggest words sitting there. It's like a power word. It's like when you learn as a kid, no. Your child, no, I'm not going to go brush my teeth. No, I'm not. Okay, well, guess what? You're going to do what you need to do. Sit there within good reason. Legally, you have to sit there and follow certain guidelines for business. I have a cousin who works for OSHA. He's the internal affairs side. And everybody, OSHA doesn't have internal affairs. Yes, they do. It's called HR. He eats his own. He's stationed here in Houston. He calls me up for advice because he knows I am a global entity. And when I go through certain things with him, he calls me for certain advice on things, because he says, we don't have much experience in maritime, which OSHA doesn't. They got a little section in there. So he calls me for that. And I've actually thrown OSHA and EPA and stuff off of my sites on job sites pertaining to offshore stuff. Are you certified to be out here? No. Get off my boat. Because they're a liability.
Right.
I've been known to throw a CEO off his own forklift because he didn't have a license. That's a liability. That's a very stupid thing to do, because you destroy a system that's $100,000 or $100 million system. Guess what? Who's going to be eating that? You. So you don't want that. But then you load up the client over here. They're going to be butthurt and stuff and all that. And then they're going to be like, okay, I don't want to use this company no more. So it's all in the actions of the person. And the person really has to be true to themselves and their heart and what they do in order to make it successful. You go in there, you see the person in there, you see the look on their face, they're really hating life. Do I really want to hang around in that place? No.
For a lot of reasons, I would suggest. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we've run out of time for this first segment. I am going to take a break here. And when we come back, we're going to continue this conversation and talk about a couple of other things in Juaquin's background and the impact that they have on his business today. So thank you, and stay with us, and we'll be right back.
Car enthusiasts of Conroe, FM 104.5 and 106.1 Lone Star Community Radio invites you to shift into gear every Monday from 1 to 2 with Cruising Car Club Talk with Robert and Randy for news on all things automotive in the greater Houston-Conroe area. Can't make a live show? We've got you covered. You can find all of our uncut content, including full episodes, on Spotify, iTunes, Play Store, YouTube, Facebook, and irlonestar.com. Again, that's Mondays 1 to 2, Cruising Car Club Talk with Robert and Randy. See you there.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. This is Rick Schisler. I'm your host, and you're listening to the Weekly Business Hour. And I want to mention to you that if you'd like to be a guest on the show, particularly if you live here in the Montgomery County area, just reach out to me at rick@irlonestar.com. The only requirement is that you're willing to share your business story and offer information and advice to our listeners. We're all here to help educate and reciprocate so that we all can be stronger and more successful in our businesses. Well, Joaquin, I was thinking during the break, and you were talking about how just one situation can happen and it destroys a system. Many years ago, I owned a business, had some partners in this one, and the price of workers' comp insurance just kept skyrocketing. And this is way back, okay, a number of years ago. but it just kept going up. Well, this industry, which when we actually bought a company that was existing, and then built it up, is that it was in an industry, one of those industries, not unlike necessarily working on the rigs and stuff, not quite as bad, but close. And so I'll never forget, it was just getting crazy, and it was impacting our margins and so on and so forth. And so somebody came along, and I think it became kind of a popular thing. I don't know. I'd learned that 50% of the employers in Texas did not carry workers' comp. And I said, wow, because I'd always, you got the workers' comp, but I'd been in industries that were, $5, $6, $8 per 100. Now I'm in a business where it's $18, $20, $22, and it just keeps going up. And so we made a decision in the business to go without. That's the nice way of saying it. There's another way of saying it. Go bare. And we set up systems, particularly inside our manufacturing plant, which was a challenging environment in some ways because you had electrical, you had so many trades, so many huge spray booths. You had all kinds and things moving around on forklifts, it was custom manufacturing. So there was a lot of exposure to potential problems. And it's interesting the discussions that took place, supervisors, management, even employees, because like you say, we had to adjust the culture. In our case, thank goodness, not really a huge amount because we were already doing certain things that they were a cohesive unit. But an individual, like we found out, which I think is probably prevalent, the night shift was more prone to have an accident. Well, we didn't have a lot of accidents. That was the first thing that gave me some security. I'm talking about the history, particularly of the manufacturing, which we had installation crews that went 90 feet in the air and stuff. We did not take them off comp. They were in a different category, way up there. But anyway, it was interesting because I did get a little bit of the inside look like you've had a whole lot of trying to understand culturally. And we actually went over 2 years with no reportable accidents. And we ended up selling the business, but we also, to give you, as Paul Harvey would say, the rest of the story, there was insurance available as backup that paid medical expenses and things. But it was 30-40% of the premium we were paying. So we were miles ahead, and it actually paid out more on a loss. So you lose a finger, you lose a hand, than the state did. But it did not give you what only the state could do, and that's absolute protection, liability-wise. But as far as the employee was concerned, they were actually a little better off if, in fact, they unfortunately had an accident and were injured. So it's interesting, that little bit of an insight I had, and it was directly involved. I can't imagine being on a rig. We've all seen the various movies and stories and all that, and even known people. Most of us, at least in this area of the country, we know somebody, maybe 2-3 removed, but that worked on rigs, and we hear firsthand the stories. Very interesting. Let me ask you, one of the things that and this is intriguing me, as much of what you do intrigues me. You said in your resume, your bio, ranked number 1 in the world, which that's the world, folks, okay? And you have a 5 Black Pearl rating, which only you and Johnny Depp had. I believe his ship in Pirates of the Caribbean was the Black Pearl. So you and Johnny got something going on that we're not aware of. But number 1 in the world, what's that all about? How can one become number 1 in the entire world?
There's a closed society that I'm a member of, and it was founded by the Druid priest in 1555. And these people who are members are very, very influential people. They have B's behind their names. I don't have one yet, but I'm working towards that. But it's so comforting to be a member of this, and they do call me up, and we have a team, a global team, and I worked my way up from 10 all the way to number 1. Now I'm at number 1 in the world, and it's where you're it. You sit here, you look at the global environmental, the global occupational, you look at everything and what everything's being done in every country. That's why my safety training is good anywhere in the world. And the main key thing for keeping a company good is the safety training. Keeping the culture there, keeping the culture alive. There's some people, they want to buck the system. Those guys, those are your rodeo clowns.
Mm-hmm.
They want to sit there, they want to buck the system. When I'm out there on the site and I see someone messing around, acting stupid, I see them do something they're not supposed to do, I play the taco game with them. You owe me a taco. I see you doing something unsafe. You owe me a taco. That's the way I follow the safety culture in the company. Because I tell everybody else, I have them police themselves. That's where I start putting that autopilot culture into place. So everybody starts watching each other because, you know what, I catch you doing something wrong, you're going to owe me a taco. Oh, now someone asks me, could we do beer? No, I don't condone that. So yeah, no alcohol involved. No, nada. So, but they sit there and everybody's starting to play this game, of the taco game, as I call it. And, I'm a camouflage Mexican. So, everybody sit there and they're like, oh, we didn't know you was Hispanic. Well, I am. Go figure. But I love tacos. And it's something that's easy. It's simple.
Right.
One of the things I like to do, keep it simple, go back to square one. Keep it easy. Why I tell them to go back to square one? You may miss a step along the way. I do that so fast. I go back to square one so quickly. I'm used to it. I have to do it. Because if I make a mistake, my credit, my reputation is ruined. I can recover, but it's just a headache of going through that. But you sit there, so you get people in that culture where they're sitting there going, okay. Then they come and tell me how many tacos were bought that day. So I write it down on the calendar. So I'll sit there and look at it. When I get down to 2 tacos at the end of the month, I'm trying to work myself out of a job. So, because you're trying to keep that safety culture going and trying to strengthen it up. And you have to do certain things to do that, to keep it up. I do it in office settings. I do it out in the field. I've been in every industry you can think of almost. And I've established that culture there. Everybody, oh, well, that's the snitch culture. No, it's not. When they sit there and tell me, show me in the OSHA manual, blah, 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 they expect me to drive all the way up to the office, pull out my OSHA manual, look it up, and come back. By the time I get done with all that, they done what they were supposed to do. No, I pull out my phone, pull up my OSHA app that I have on my phone, show me what CFR it is. You can tell I played that game before.
Right.
Yeah, so you learn. You learn from it. You got these old guys, and one guy, I've been doing this 20 years. That's 20 years that you know better. I mean, so, and I've been doing this for 30. So it's, you sit there and you got to know how to relate to people and you got to know how to approach. That's the key.
Right.
How to keep them engaged. I can work multiple locations and I know what's going on that location, those locations at any given time.
Recently, all of us had a chance, and I happened to watch this show. There's a TV program called Landman, and they had in the beginning or whatever, they had an accident take place on a rig, and basically it just disappeared 4 guys, just in a flick of a hat, and injured another one really badly that was nearby. And they were using a hammer to move a wrench, so it can, I guess, created a spark or whatever. And this was just a little bitty pump out in the middle of nowhere. You can imagine being offshore and doing something dumb like that in some related way. And these guys were, at least the crew, I got the impression that the crew leader was experienced, but maybe the guys behind him the experience really dropped off. But he was there. He made that decision. One bad decision changed 4 people's lives and their families, and particularly potentially the business, as you say. Very, very interesting. Let's kind of switch gears a little bit and talk about the business aspects of what you do. You mentioned that you were in a situation 30 years ago, roughly. you were an electrician doing electrical work. Now you were offshore, so you had familiarity with that industry, so to speak, in that type of environment, et cetera, et cetera. And an accident occurred, and it kind of woke you up or shook you up or whatever to reassess where you were going to focus. And you said, well, voila, safety, because it involved someone who actually died because of a safety issue, I assume. So, but what was the main factor that caused you to change your direction and go for what you're doing today, 30 some years later?
A calling. When something calls you, you answer that call. Don't sit there and ignore it. Oh yeah, I'll get to it. No, it called me. I would never thought in a million years I'd be doing this. All right, in a million years, I never thought that. But no, it called me. It chose me. This career path chose me. It chose me to come and do what I do. And here I am. I'm one of the greats, and it's kind of cool. And I love what I do. But also within, I was going to tell you, I've investigated over 300 fatalities in the workplace worldwide, and 80,
not just offshore, warehouse, manufacturing, and 80 of them were actual homicides. Now you made that determination?
No,
or did the ME or whoever?
From my findings of the evidence and investigations, I have to investigate the incident. We found out that there was a homicide.
But I assume that whoever engaged you thought it was an accident or something that happened.
Initially, at first they did.
Workers' comp type accident.
At first, initially they did. They thought it was, until I got into the cameras and looking at the audio and speaking with people. We kind of found out that two guys were beefing over a girl, and but you sit there, you look at it, and you when you weigh out the options in what you do at work, man, if you got some personal stuff, leave it at home. And seriously, leave that sandwich at home, because you will get one of those kick your butt Happy Meals in life that will really change your way of thinking. And being behind bars, I've investigated quite a bit of incidents and ruled them to be self-inflicted, because it came out that there's a certain people talk to me. They tell me things I really don't need to know. I have that gift or curse. And it's, oh my gosh, I really didn't need to hear that, But there's some people that are sitting in Huntsville right now, for insurance fraud.
I will, and I've been exposed to that in my career as an employer. It's an amazing world with workers' comp and liability insurance, some things. Then I flip to the other side. I'm a lawyer by training, no longer practice. But anyway, my dad shared a story when he was in high school, and he lived on the west side of Philadelphia, or southwest side, in a suburb, and what became a suburb, but it was out of town. But in the off season, summer, the coach, he played football. He always loved football. They would help players get jobs, summer jobs. And so he got a job at a manufacturing facility in Philadelphia that manufactured railroad engines and whatnot. Now, World War II was going on, and so they were crating them up. I can't imagine crating up an engine. And then they put them on ships and were sending them to Europe and other places. And that was his first exposure to a workplace where you had lots of people. He said there were over 1,000 employees working on a shift. He's working a day shift. And he personally either observed or was nearby when what you're talking about, where somebody got crossways with somebody else. He said one time he said they just drove a forklift into him, into the wall, and broke both his legs. And then another time a guy was up on top of the crate where they crated up an engine, and it was like almost 3 stories, he said. And next thing you know, some beam came by, hit the guy in the back. He fell and broke his arm. But he had done something wrong. that was outside the system, like getting your hair cut. He said they had their own barber. It was one of the guys, so he's getting paid to work there and putting engines together and grading them. But he has a barber shop that everybody was required to go to. But
Not fits all.
you know, and then as my father says, that summer I wound down. He says I learned a lot, and being a football player, he was in physically pretty good shape. And they had these big baseball fields outside on the company's grounds. Well, people would go after work and they'd have ball games, and even had teams at some point. He said one day something happened, and the next thing he says, you would not believe what 1,000+ people, men primarily, what men in a brawl look like. He says it started at one end and it just, and he says, it's after work. I'm tired. He says, I went around and got on the bus and went home. He says, but you had 1,000 people, which the liability to that company and all those people out there doing, just taking a swing at each other. Interesting, the exposure and the importance of this safety thing. Let me ask you, and this is a question I try to ask most often to my guest, which is in your business day to day. And as you mentioned, you've got day to day, you got employees, you got this, that, you report to your wife, I got that. But what is the biggest challenge that you personally, or perhaps your company faces every day, day in and day out?
The biggest challenges of what I face is really not too much. The company, we have competitors, and stuff and all that. They try to come in and oh my God, he's got all these accolades. He's got all this, he's going to be very expensive. No, my training is very affordable. You have to sit there and look at that because people sit here, they like to gossip. Okay, first of all, don't speak for me. All right, I can handle my own. I mean, I grew up in a ghetto out of Indianapolis. So, and everybody's like, well, we don't call it ghettos anymore. Well, it's because you're embarrassed where you're from. I'm not, because it made me in who I am today. And the people I was exposed to a lot of wise guys and thugs. I grew, never got into the game. Won't get into the game. But it made me be able to recognize. You be able to walk in a room. Growing up like that, you can read a room very quickly. And when you walk into the arena, the warehouse, or something like that, the sand pit or the or the sandbox or the playground, you gotta know how to read people. You gotta know how to understand. You gotta know how to understand how different personalities, they have different. There's a lot of moving parts in a person's head. The tasks they're doing, there's a lot of moving parts involved with that. Manufacturing, especially construction, everything. People couldn't believe that the fact that Burger King, when they build your Whopper or Mickey D's or wherever, that it's an assembly process. So it's a form of manufacturing. No, it's not. It's fast food. It's manufacturing.
Well, you even got a conveyor belt.
Yeah, but it's still manufacturing. You still got to put it together to send it out the door. So you got to sit there. You got to look at that. You got to look at things. And so in my day-to-day, I got to look at things for what they really are. And my wife will tell you, she won't change anything about me. I won't mince any words. Yeah, she thinks I report to her.
Well, you implied that. I'm sorry. I don't want to create a problem.
No, she's a queen bee, but I'm the president of the company, so I do make a lot of executive decisions. But I include her in those decisions. And, a lot of it with the employees is as long as you can legally have your firearm, you can have it at your desk. And so I give them amount of responsibility. Having that firearm is a responsibility, and it's a constant reminder of the responsibility of the tasks they have to take with this company. I have a very big responsibility. People talk about, oh, well, you don't have responsibility. I have the weight of the world on my shoulders of safety and environmental. Seriously, I do. There's certain governments that are sued so much in the world court, it's unreal. And sometimes I've had to testify against them in my findings of what they did. They go into another country, they do bad things to the environment, bad things to the people, They're not supposed to do that. They don't uphold something on their contract. So I have to understand contracts and everything else, law. So I have to understand a lot of things about your profession, and the findings and all that in it. So I had to sit there and testify on my findings. So it's I'm kind of an officer of the court, and because I'm a subject matter expert, and you go in there and you have to sit there. So my day to day, I try not to worry about it. Don't sweat the small stuff. When the big stuff comes alive, man, don't even sweat that. You just see your way through it.
You know, but I hear between the lines, and you just sort of clicked me. It made that light bulb go on for once in a day, so I'm ahead. But is the fact that dealing in a world as your market, if you will, even national, in other words, the bigger your market gets as far as the geophysical things that you have to deal with, on top of the mountain, on the plains, whatever, but the larger that becomes, the more challenging it is. And I can almost assure you that your biggest challenge every day is the fact that, yes, you have an issue in another country. I mean, that's just one level. But then you've got this and that. And so it's bringing all of that knowledge and experience, and I'm sure subject matter experts, people call it, to put together what needs to be done, whether it's a court testimony, a subject matter expert. You play in the biggest field. You didn't mention space, but you play in the biggest field, and there are a lot of people in that field. But most of them that I'm aware of as a business guy, especially in small business, are large corporations that have layers of people doing a little piece of what you do on behalf of their employer. So I find that intriguing. I find that challenging, and something I may or may not have thought of if I were in your shoes 30 years ago. Do I really want to take this on? Like, am my arms big enough to be able to be successful and meet the standards goals that I set? Now, I think that's an interesting story in and of itself, to find success on that big of a playing field, regardless of what it is you do. That to me is challenging. You mentioned your wife and who's president or EVP or whatever, and we know how that works, but who knows, right? Day to day. Work-life balance was a big thing 10 years ago, 15, 20 years ago. Talked to everybody. I had small businesses, just absolute, what do I do? What do I do? Well, that's first, your family, whoever, maybe grandparents, maybe parents, maybe cousin. You have someone who's your partner, and they may not own literally legally a piece of the business, or they may in a common law or property state where it's 50-50, you don't even know it. But the communication was typically very weak between the guy who's out there, the man, the woman, whoever, busting it, got this clear vision of where they want to go and da-da-da. But they're not telling those that they're their biggest supporters, the people that are behind them, the people that depend on them. And that was one of the biggest things I ever would touch on with people. And they just kind of, I didn't realize it. I didn't take time to think about it. I'm not trying to disregard them, but you've got to deliver something to them in a form that's acceptable and tell them what you're doing. Oh, I just put another mortgage on the house, Well, that's an extreme, right? But I'm going to go travel to Timbuktu, and the risk is huge, and da-da-da-da. And you need to be aware of that, partner, or what do you think? More importantly, let's hash this out. So how do you achieve, you've got your wife in the business, which says that she is more aware than most of our, I call them family partners, than normal. Is that an important part of what y'all do as far as keeping them the work-life balance?
The work-life balance is a very easy thing to achieve, and here's how. I had my wife in the business because she wanted to come into the business because she found what I do is very intriguing.
Mm-hmm.
And she sat there and she's heard me tell the stories about people come up to me and they want to challenge me to, draw, mister. It's kind of like the Wild West in there. And I tell them, I would challenge you to a game of wit, but I'll be attacking an unarmed man. You're not at my level. Please, I commend your bravery for that. Stay in your lane. Learn a little more before you come at me. And you got to remember, I got so much in my head up here that if I try to put 30 years of my training in somebody's head, either they would get mentally dysfunctional or they would blow up. Their head would blow up. But my wife, I work with her. So I trained her in some things. And she's like, hey, you can't. She worked at TCH. And she told the safety guy there, who's a CSP, he said, you can't store flammables under a stairwell. Oh, that's just you can't store it. It's against fire code. Well, he got butt hurt and moved it, but he tried to stay away from her. Because then I know her husband, Oh man. So, but the fact is, life balance, man, you have two types of families. You have your corporate work family and you have your home family. Now, if you find a way to integrate that, but there is still a separation because you go at home, man, you got a permanent time clock that you hit. You can't punch in and out of that clock. Once it's punched, it's there. That's baby, right. It's all you and them. This one, you can separate from it. Well, my wife wanted to come into this one with me. But, we do discuss work things when we're watching TV and stuff because she's wanting to know, but she might have an idea. Okay, fine. To me, there's no stupid ideas. Not unless it's like totally out there in left field and in a land galaxy far, far away. But I very seldom do that. I might razz her a little bit, but she sits there and people are like, how's it feel being married to Mr. Safety? She says it's great because I learn a lot more about things than you can imagine. I mean, there's certain projects I'm on right now. It'll blow your mind. I mean, and things I'm developing. Right. And so that's going to help the world. And she knows all about it. And she's like excited about it because when we release it to the public here pretty soon, it's going to be great. But the fact of it is your work-life balance is that you have to have an understanding, one, of your wife, your family, your work family. And you got to have an understanding of the limitations of yourself. Me, I pray a lot. I'm also an ordained chaplain. So, I can marry you or bury you. And I'm also a medic, so, I can repeat. But you got to sit there, you got to look at, hey, wait a minute. You got to have the balance. And there's plenty of times during the day where, I have to stop and take a breath and reverse the gear a little bit. And like I said, don't miss a step. You got to go back to square one. Keep it simple. Get back to basics. I do that with our relationship. My marriage is simple. My wife and I is simple. We don't have any shenanigans. We don't have all that. We're totally open and honest with each other. So you got to sit there. And in the corporate family, there are some things that's best not to be said. All right. But to be transparent in both is a lot. It's a lot. It means a lot. And I expect my people to be transparent with me. And you have a problem, come to us. Talk to us about it. Because when you bring that stuff from home, you bring it into the realm here, we got a problem. Because if it starts affecting you, it's like showing up, man, I had so much to drink, I got a hangover. Well, you're still impaired. You're still impaired by that. You're still, right. So, legally, you can't be at work under the policies. So you got to go home for the day because if I drug and alcohol test you and you pop positive, that's going to follow you for the rest of your life. That goes in a federal database. So go home. Matter of fact, call an Uber. I don't want you driving. So there's a lot of things. So you gotta nurture your employees to a certain degree. Okay, everybody to me is like family, but my view of that is entirely different. I don't kiss butt. I failed that class. All right. So, but I tell people, you come into the arts, you come into work, you're expected to do a certain task. Now, if you can't meet that task, we need to talk. Now, if you tell me you fluff your resume to come into my family and you sit there and do that, now you can't fulfill that, we're going to have a different conversation. So, but the thing of it is honesty, transparency is the biggest key of that.
Well, it makes everything, it establishes a great foundation. Joaquin, I have really, really enjoyed our conversation. Unfortunately, we have run out of time. But would you do me a favor? Would you tell our audience if they want to get in touch with you, maybe to ask a business question, or maybe they're in your field and they want a connection for business? What's the best way for them to do that?
They could get a hold of me. They can go to my website. We have a company website. It's 3J Safety and Environmental LLC. We're easy to find. And 3J's is the word spelled out 3, and then J, and then a little small s, and then Safety and Environmental LLC. I guess they can put it up on their website or something that you talk to me. I'm okay with that. And yeah, you can scroll through. There's my wife and I's emails on there and our phone numbers. Shoot me a text because I have Active Armor on my phone because I get so many robocalls. So it actually sends them to voicemail. That's a godsend. But no, I'm very easy. I'm very approachable. I'm not one that will let things linger. I'm very open and honest with my clients. Matter of fact, Tata Family is one of my clients, and they own Jaguar and Range Rover. They're out of India. So dealing with the global stage, you got to understand that's that your arena has gotten big. So if you want to get a hold of me and chat with me about that, that's fine. But just remember, think of the task first before you start worrying about the dollar signs.
Yeah.
Because
wise advice. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you've enjoyed today's program. A reminder, in a few days, it'll be posted and available, typically by Wednesday. You can find it on our Facebook page, Connection. You can find it on YouTube and a bunch of other social media, or come to the station website, irlonestar.com. Look for the tab of programs, and we're in the daytime programs, and just click on it, and you can listen to what we had today. And I appreciate anyone out there who is willing to share that with someone who they know in business and could benefit from listening to a discussion such as the one we had today. Also, don't forget, next week, 11 a.m., right here at Lone Star Community Radio, the weekly business hour. We'll be back with another exciting guest, another perspective about business and being in business. And until next week, I always encourage, stay engaged and keep your focus on what counts in your business. Thanks.